So, Dr. Paul, thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to come here to Dublin. I was looking forward to it. It's quite a great place. I've been checking it around, and it seems to be a very fascinating place. So, first and foremost, I would just want you to tell me about the research that you do as a scholar, as an academic. What are you currently working on, and what is it all about?
Okay, so currently working on, I have two projects in the kind of pipeline. One is a compendium, a kind of directory of military charities, British and Irish military charities in the Victorian and Edwardian period. So my research started in the Crimean War. So my doctoral dissertation was on Ireland and the Crimean War, looking at the home front, so politics, religion, economy, popular culture, military recruitment. And it's obviously how via that route that I got into where I am now with the military welfare history. So there's the directory, which seeks to bring together several kind of almanacs of military welfare charities that were published by Sir James Gilday, who set up the Soldiers and Sailors Families Association in 1885. He's made these almanacs to help, veterans and wives of military soldiers or sailors find welfare in the late Victorian and Edwardian period. So, but these are just sitting in the British Library or various places, and I feel that they need to come together. So I've been working away on that for a few years, trying to get that together, and I'll hopefully get that out to publication in the next year or two. And the second project is a study of the separation allowances and pensions for British and Irish service women. So that would be our wives. So that's wives, daughters, and family members during the First World War. So a lot of scholarship exists around this idea of the separation allowance for the military wife in the First World War, but nobody really understands how that system worked. There's talk about what are the scales of allowance. We've seen that in several pieces of scholarship to date, but nothing exists in terms of how did it all work and how did it all come about and work and evolve over that period. So that'll be something that I'm working on and will come out in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I understand that you're also the coordinator of the Military Welfare History Network. Could you just briefly talk about this network? How did it start? What is it currently working on, and what do you hope to achieve?
Absolutely. So coming from my earlier research in the Crimean War, I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of military welfare history way back in 2015. So I finished my doctoral dissertation 2014, published 2015. And in the review, when I sent my manuscript into Liverpool University Press, the one thing that the reviewer picked up on as what they perceived to be the most unique aspect was my work on military wives, charitable welfare relief in Ireland during the Crimean War. So I pursued that, submitted a paper to a Home Fronts conference at Worcester, at the University of Worcester, got into a special edition of Women's History Review 2017, and from there it kind of evolved. I started doing more work on that with military charities in Ireland and Britain, and learning more about these needlework associations, as they were called, where they would employ army women. So that kind of brought me to a publication rabbit hole and a conference paper rabbit hole, to the point that I started meeting a lot of scholars on the circuit at places like the University of Leeds, where they had a Care After the First World War conference in 2018. I met several more scholars there than I'd met in previous years, and I realised there's something in this. There are a lot of scholars out there who are doing scholarship that's not military history, and it's not your standard history of war scholarship. There's something very specific about it. It's looking at care and it's looking at welfare and medical provisions for a broader military community, and it's not just the service personnel, it's also their family members, it's their children, their wives, their mothers, their fathers, and it's the veterans and the veterans' families. So it's a big field of scholarship that pulls in multiple strands. There's military history, there's legal history, there's social history, social policy, there's race history, there's sex and gender. All sorts of things are being pulled in, and even religious studies, because the concept of even chaplaincy within the military environs and military communities is a piece of welfare in itself. So seeing this, I said, well, maybe this needs a research network of its own, because the military history societies as existed at the time didn't fulfill the role, I felt. And even any kind of welfare history organizations, or gender and women's history, networks did not do it. So February 2019, I kind of reached out to a few scholars and said, I'm putting together a network, would you be interested in joining? And from even very early on, a couple of US scholars who I'd come across their publications, like Jennifer Mittelstadt, were very receptive and were very kind to provide several colleagues' names from across the US and on sides of the Atlantic, who again, reaching out, and it just a bit of a domino effect. Every person I would contact usually had at least one or two names to give me, and between February 2019 and today, we are up to 160 plus members. And it's a very, it's not a historical association, it's not a history society at this time. It is very much a collective. It is a collective of scholars. It isn't just a network. We just know each other. We know each other's work. We share dialogue and promote each other's work. That's pretty much my job as a coordinator, to facilitate this. And it's just to get the word out there that this is very much a third field of military and warfare studies. Traditional military history is number one, history of war scholarship is number two, and then this military welfare history straddles both of them. And this is where we exist presently, and putting together conferences like the one we're going to have tomorrow here in Dublin, and as we had 2 years ago, is very much my role in this, and trying to get the scholarship out there into the broader academy.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell me about the conference tomorrow. Is this the very first conference that the network has organized?
No, it's actually the second.
It's the second
one.
It
is the second.
Nice.
We were supposed to have the first in-person event back in 2020, but of course COVID put a stop to that. We did push it out a year and had it via Zoom. In 2021, we had 15 papers, I do believe, over 2 days, and it was a very successful event, which has actually led to a special edition journal being produced with War and Society. Myself and Amy Kearney at Penn State, Bertrand, have worked on that with several scholars over the last 2 years, and we're very fortunate and happy to say that it will be coming out in the fall, autumn of this year. So that'll be six articles engaging with the concept of military welfare history. The introduction very much will be introducing the Academy to this concept of the third field of warfare and military studies, and explaining what we define as military welfare history. And we hope that people that engage with it and are enthused by it, like we are, and we feel that it's very much the beginnings of something. The conference that I've organised for tomorrow with 14 papers, excellent scholars from across the Academy and across multiple countries. We're coming together, we're going to share our knowledge, and from that we will be producing an edited volume. So we're going from the special edition journal up the next level to the edited volume. We're going to have over a dozen essays in that, and that should be out in 2 years' time. And that will again, through the introduction, reintroduce the Academy to what is military welfare scholarship, but what people can look forward to in terms of the scholarship that we will produce in this volume is a very diverse portfolio of both topics and chronologies, and geographical as well. So we're going right from antiquity right up to the contemporary period in terms of chronology. We're looking at the ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, through the Middle Ages, through the early modern period, looking at things like veteran welfare, veteran pensions, medical treatment for service personnel and veterans, the charitable relief for military families as well as for veterans again, and then medical care as well for service personnel during periods of conflict, all the way up to looking at even late 20th century Russia and Afghan war veterans. So a very diverse portfolio, and I hope that it will generate a lot of interest in the field.
That is wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul, for your time, and have a good day.
You too.
That's great.